All right, hey guys, welcome in. Sorry, just trying to get myself situated here. All right, I just have to verify my audio's working, and then we'll get going. All right, we're good. All right, so today we're going to be making some supported spindles. These are Russian style spindles. So this is oversized. I do that on purpose so I can true it up. So we're going to go through and just bring the diameter down. Right, I have a story stick here. I'm just going to lay it over the top. Transfer my lines over. So that's the shape we're going to be making. Hey Nate, how's it going? Welcome in. You're number one. Hooray! Good morning. So we have a bunch of material we need to remove yet. So we're just kind of blocking everything in right now. So before we get too much farther, I'm going to back the tailstock off and look how it's spinning, just to make sure it's spinning true, and it is. So if it was not, if it was a little bit crooked, it would have vibration in it, then we could stop and just go on to the next one rather than spending all the time getting everything dialed in and then have it not work at the end. I'm checking, and it's looking pretty good as far as being on size. Alright, we're going to turn the speed down. We're going to sand it out real quick. So we're starting with the medium grit. So this wood is cherry. So we need to be a little bit careful on the sharp edges here. Otherwise, it will tend to burn. Speaking of burning, we'll put a decorative line in right here. We're going to burnish the surface. Then we'll take a look. Got a little bit of chatter right here, which isn't the end of the world. We'll take care of that right now. Hey Grin, how's it going? Welcome in. We are making some Russian supported spindles today. Alright, so it's looking pretty good. Add a little bit of wax. Since we are clamped in, the 4-jaw chuck, we can cut off the bottom. There we go. Sand that out. All right, then we'll finish up the top here. There we go. Add some wax. This is also going to take a bath in some mineral oil with wax in it as well. Let's fill up those pores. Alright. There's the bowl. Spin it. Running nice and true. It's not vibrating. So that one is good. The next one we're going to make is going to be hard maple. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to mark the center of this. So I'm going to use a center finder. Just put that on, transfer that line over, turn it 180, another line, and then I like to do one more kind of in between. So that is the center point. One is a hair, there we go. A hair bigger than it should be. We'll work that one in. Not as big. This is why I can't have anything nice. We'll dig in. So right now I'm just kind of roughing in the general shape. It's going to give me a little peek here. Make sure it's running okay, which it is. Now we have the story stick. So it's just a bunch of lines on it. I'm going to transfer those lines over to here. Now, I don't use carbide tooling very much, but for this application, it works out nice. Put my template over the top. Okay, now we're going to go to the roughing gouge, and we're going to start taking this diameter down. So we just switched from the roughing gouge to the spindle gouge. Getting close. Then we'll sand it out. I hope everybody's having a lovely morning. No, I am. Hey, E, how's it going? Welcome in. That's some wax. Do I have one with yarn on? I do not, but we can change that in a second. Hey, I appreciate it, Andrew. Alright, so this is roving. It's actually top. A sheep got a haircut. They picked the nasty parts out. Then they removed the lanolin. So they washed it to remove the lanolin. And then they carded or combed it so all the hairs are in the same direction. So this bunch of floof is just all wool with all the hairs going in the same way. We'll grab the one that we just started. We just finished this one up this morning. First one today. Put it over the top. Twist. It's kind of a hard angle. That's a little easier. So we take the spindle. We have it set into a bowl. So we're going to spin the spindle to put twist in. Then with my hands, I'm going to be drafting. So I'm taking that big pile of wool and making it into a very thin piece of yarn. So supported spindles like this are really good for making super, super thin yarn because you don't have the weight of the spindle pulling the yarn down. And then you just keep, adding to that. You start a cop on the bottom, and you start storing it on the bottom until you have a big pile of yarn. Which raises the whole question is, do people spin their own yarn? And the answer is yes. Yes, they do. I'm one of them. Alright, now we're going to come up to the top. So I'm just gently paring down the diameter, bringing it to a point. Put it in a bowl, give her a spin. Cherry one here. I got the bottom already marked. got that wedged in there. Apparently I ate my channel locks. I'm sure I'll find them. Oh, I see them right there. So I'm getting it lined up, but I don't have the pin in. The live center is not in there. So I have it centered. I'm going to start it up, and when it's spinning, I'm going to put the live center in to try to find the natural center of it. So if this thing isn't perfectly straight, if there's a little bow in it, marking that center there is not the center of the whole thing. It's just the center on this plane right here. So that point would be in the center, but we're worried about the entire length of the wood. See how it's got that wobble? So we'll bring the diameter down here. I'm just gonna just scrape away a bunch just so I can make sure that we're running true. Back that off. So you can see that side has a wobble in it, but right there is fine. So we're good. So I'm just getting rid of a bunch of the mass right away, so we don't have to deal with it later. So that line there marks a transition between the taper on this side and the taper on that side. So I'm giving myself about between a 3/8 of an inch and a 1/2 inch there, just so it's not going to break, but I want to kind of start finalizing that shape. We're going to burn a decorative line in here. Alright, I'm going to leave a little bit of meat there so I can sand it out. So this one is cherry. So over the years, this will get a beautiful patina to it. It'll deepen up. It'll be gorgeous. Right now I'm burnishing with some of the cherry wood chips. Alright, I gotta do a little bit more sanding right there. Looking good. So go back and burnish again. Add a little wax. So I hope everybody is sticking with their New Year's resolutions. I was hoping we're going to have a New Year revolution, but you know, we do what we can with what we got, right? So yeah, I'm 5 days in, and I'm still doing everything that I said I was going to do. What speed do I sand at? Normally, for this stuff, around 2,000 RPMs. And I got some lines in there I'm not happy with, so we will chuck it up the other way. So I made this little insert. Basically, it's a little collet. It's made out of TPU, so it's a flexible filament. That way I can clamp this securely on, but it's not going to mar the surface. Would I be willing to share a file for it? Well, this is my design, so I really can't kind of sell these. But if there's a will, there's a way. Alright. Let's give her a spin. Yeah. Oh, the file for the bush, the collet? I don't even know if I still have it. It's just something I quickly drew up in Fusion 360. And I made it where, you know, you can adjust this. I'll see if I still have it somewhere. That might be something that would be worth making a little video on how to design something like that. Alright, now we're going to do one out of hard maple. So we'll use this little center finder. I don't know about you, but I seem to wind up with a range of different center finders. So this one here is Wood River, so it was from Woodcraft. Yeah, I think I'll do that. But, you know, so this is good for like making pens. And then I 3D printed out this style here, which is nice because it actually kind of wraps around the dowel that you're working with. And then, you know, I made that with a laser engraver. And, you know, this style here, I think it's from Woodcraft. You know, this is good for bigger stuff. So I did not start out wanting 4 center. But it's like anything else, you're always trying to find the best one, you know? Yeah, so these are a bit oversized. Yeah, so TPU is a little bit tricky to print with, but it's polyurethane. So it's definitely squishy. And depending on the filament, there's a whole bunch of different firmnesses as well. I think this is 95. So it's not overly squishy, but squishy enough. Originally, I was making stuff like that out of PLA, but then you can occasionally get scratches. So. I knew I'd get there eventually. main reasons I make templates is I can take and get my measurements for my calipers off this. So I have a physical representation of what I'm making. So I use this in conjunction with the story stick, which is obviously just a dowel. Seems to work out pretty darn nice. Now, I do have a Vega duplicator that does fit on this lathe. But to be honest, it's just more fun making them. Now, if I was going to make like 100 of these, then I'd probably get the duplicator out. But since we're only making, I'm planning on making 6 of them today, so. Or how many we can get done in an hour. We do have packaging to do today. We got about 25 packages we need to get together, so. Alright, I need to 3D print a couple things, so I guess we're over there.
Yeah, I don't remember what the
Alright. Do I have a holder for my phone? I'll go grab one. I keep seeing it. Do you see the phone holder that's on the flexible arm? I keep bumping into it and then I don't... Oh, there it is. It's right there. Alright, so we need to make some felting tools. So we need to make a dark blue one or a light blue one? Dark blue, okay. And then red. Alright. I think we'll do one on the A1 Mini here. So we're going to have to switch filament on that. So I'm just going to... It does have a procedure. And this thing is garbage. Alright. It does have a procedure for changing filament. I'm not going to use it. I'm just going to come into the controls, heat the nozzle. While that's going on, I'm going to turn on this one. And that one. So right now it's heating the nozzle. It's at 69 degrees. Celsius is going to go up to 222. I'll take that roll of filament out, put the next one in. So I'm just blowing off this roll to make sure there's not any dust on it. Right? You're not wrong. If I only had a map, that would have helped. purge it. The old filament out. There we go. Alright, I'm going to turn on bed leveling. I'm not really concerned about the dynamic flow, so I'm just going to hit print. And then this thing should spark up in a little bit and start measuring the bed. So this is a Bamboo Lab A1 Mini. This is an X1 Carbon. Wants a cool plate, that's what's in there. And it's cool. Alright, we'll shut off the time lapse, we don't need that. Next, we're gonna have to switch the filament over. That'll work. For some reason, I just didn't have it loaded into the AMS. So we're just waiting a second for it to recognize. Oh yeah. Did you see the phone holder?
Right.
Nice. All right. So that's going to take just about an hour, 51 minutes. This one, 49 minutes. So it's running all its calibrations. It'll start up in a couple minutes. So these printers are amazing. I love them. I do keep a couple old school printers here. I've got a Creality Ender 3 V2 S1. It was like the first Ender that came with the sprite extruder. My first couple printers were Ultimaker 2s, so they had the big Bowden tube going around. So I do like direct extruders. Then I have this little King Room printer, Engelbert. This was a couple $100s, 4 or 5 years ago. It's got a cantilevered arm. It's very similar to the A1 Mini. This is a knockoff of the Prusa. Very simple, but it works. I print out these little sheep that I give away with it. So we can actually turn this one on. When in doubt, Aquanet. So this one doesn't take very long. It's heating the bed right now. So the bed itself is going to be 50 degrees Celsius. So it'll heat the bed first, and then it will heat the nozzle. I kind of wanted to wait until this one started laying down the first layer. Because if you don't watch the first layer, you're living dangerously. Especially on a printer like this. Ooh, it's printing. So this is going to be a holder for some needle felting needles. So you put 3 needles in there so you can stab yourself 3 times at a time rather than just once. Alright, now the X1 carbon is still going through its first, it's cleaning the nozzle right now, and then it'll come and it'll make a grid on the front. But yeah, that looks like that one's gonna work. Now this printer is at 200 degrees, it needs to get up to 228 degrees Celsius, and then it should start moving around. There we go. So it's going to print a line, so it's purging. It's getting everything flowing. And then it'll start printing sheep. So this one prints individual sheep. It'll make 1 sheep at a time and then move to the next, and it'll make 6. The reason I do that is I use this for the very ends of rolls of filament. So that way, you know, if you're making like 20 or 30 at a time and you run out of filament, then you kind of lose 20 or 30. This one, if I'm not paying attention and I run out of filament, I'll lose 1. So this older style printer, I made a skirt around the item and then print the item on the inside. That skirt gives the nozzle a chance to purge, so you get all the 3D printer filament flowing through the nozzle before you start the print. Current printers, you don't have to do that with. These, it's just a good idea. So it is making this little sheep right here. Alright, I want to watch the first layer come down, but we're still measuring. Yeah, so now it's auto bed leveling. Which is really nice. What it's doing is it's making a big map of the bed itself. So it'll find any spot that's higher or lower, and then when it prints, it'll compensate for that. So I'll do this the first time I turn this printer on, and then as long as it's on, as long as I'm printing, I will not go through this process. Now, a printer like this, there is no auto bed leveling. There's a switch here. So that screw there tells it where the bed is. So that's your Z height. So that'll click. And then in order to level it, you have to move these wheels around, take a piece of paper, put it under the nozzle, and feel. Which is something, as long as the knobs aren't messed with, it stays level pretty well. But it's just amazing how we went from this to that in like 4 or 5 years. Alright, I think we're okay. Now it's vibrating itself to death. So it's finding the natural frequency of the motors, so it can compensate for that as well. course, it left a booger on the bed. It's purging there. Now, this printer has LiDAR, so it's going to print a pattern in a bunch of different lines. Then it's going to look at the lines that it printed and find the best one. Now, like I said, you don't have to run this. I do it the first time I start the printer up. It's got the LiDAR on. It's going to start just measuring, looking at it. And then eventually it will start printing, and then I can get back to the lathe. I feel like the A1 Mini is going to be done before this one starts. Now, this one will print the first layer, and then it will scan it. That booger. Now it's finally printing. How do the liquid 3D printers work? Entirely different from this one. So these, you have rolls of filament, and then it's like a hot glue gun, and it squirts the melted plastic onto the bed. The liquid 3D ones, you have a bed of basically a UV cured resin. So you have like just a little pool of resin, and you got a plate that comes down from the top, and then the resin with UV exposure will cure. So it'll kind of make a light mask, and it'll shine bright light in certain areas, which will cure that layer, and then it will go back down, make the next layer, and stack layers up that way. So this one prints from the bottom to the top, the other one will print from the top to the bottom. So it'll be upside down coming out. Resin printers tend to be a little bit smelly, and you got to cure the stuff when you're done. I don't have one. They're really good for like really small, complicated geometry type things. You know, you get done with your print, and then you have to cure it. And when you design things, you got to make sure that if there's voids in the middle, you have a way to drain out the resin. Otherwise, you'll have like liquid resin kind of stuck in it. Alright, so it scanned the first layer. It said it's good, and away it goes. And then this one is getting there. Yeah, it is pretty nutty. This one's easier to explain because, you know, anybody who's ever decorated a cake or worked with a hot glue gun can understand what it's doing. Alright, let's get back to the lathe. So we do print certain things to order. For just starting out, for ease of use, I don't know how old your son is. A Bamboo Lab A1 Mini would be amazing. Depending if they want to make helmets or bigger things, it might be too small. Here, we'll walk over there. 15, yeah. A lot of the Like these style printers here, these really cheap ones, you can get them relatively cheap now. They tend to have a lot of tinkering in order to make them work right. It can be a little bit frustrating. This A1 Mini here, I mean, it's pretty bulletproof. I want to say it's under 300. It's pretty reasonable. You know, and there's a lot of, you know, inexpensive kind of knockoffs of these. But yeah. So if you want something with a larger bed size, they also have an A1, which is an open frame printer like this. I mean, it's a great place to start. You know, these were just discontinued. I've had these for years. But yeah, these were over $1,000. You know, this is, I think it's under 3. So it's a good spot to start. I'm not saying there's not other brands that are fine. It's just that one just makes it easy. You can run it off your phone. So they have cameras on them. So the A1 Mini camera is pretty sucky, but it'll at least let you know it's working. Unless they have the shutter closed on it. So yeah, you can see what's going on. Let's see if Poe's working here. Yeah, so you can monitor the stuff remotely. Yeah. Yeah, Bamboo Labs. Bamboo Lab, actually. BAMBULAB. Actually, it's on sale. It's $219 for the little one and $300 for the bigger one. For first printers, those would be amazing. You know, and you don't have to use their filament. Hey, not a problem. It's a nice hobby. It really is. You know, you just go, like, they've got their own kind of store thing where you can pick out files. You know, you can download files and make other people's things, or you can design your own. You know, it's a real deep rabbit hole. Yeah, I've been 3D printing for, I think, since 2016, 2017, so it's been a while. Uh-oh. Oh, good. I just saw the girlfriend walking over with a Post-it note. I'm like, oh, great, what do I have to make now? welcome in. They're both fun. Yeah, and the filament for the 3D printers that I have, ranges, normally a good roll of filament runs around $20 for a kilo. I mean, you can get cheaper stuff, but your results may vary. And PLA is the easiest to start with. And the wood lathe, it's throwing wood chips all over the place. For just starting out, I would advise not to do that. It's going to be a whole bunch of extra work, and your results may vary. So yeah, the recycling of the plastic bottles, that's PETG, is the material. It's a little trickier to print with. For just starting out, PLA is probably your best bet. And that's polylactic acid. So it's made from like starch. So like from like sweet potatoes or corn. Yeah, so with this style of printer, it's really important that the filament is all the same diameter. And it needs to be dry. So if the diameter is off, it might not feed correctly. Or it might feed too much. If it's too thick, it could plug it up. It's just, just start out with buying some filament. Amazon's a good place to get it from, unless you're lucky and have a store by you that sells it. Hobby Lobby started carrying some, but it seems like they're always out. But if you got like a that computer store, can't think of what it is. So some of the multicolored stuff I get from Matter Hackers, they're out of California. They got nice stuff, but it's not cheap. Give this a spin. So this one has a little bit more vibration in it. So unfortunately, this one's going in the fireplace. Not the end of the world. Now, would it work? Yes. Would it work as nice as the other ones? No. Hello, Kay. Welcome in. Unfortunately, I only speak English. But I can say, like, Privyet, and that's about it. That'll work. Hi. So yeah, we are making Russian-style drop spindles. So they are a supported spindle that's used for spinning very thin yarns. Hello! How's Manuel doing today? I'm going to back the tailstock off and look at this one. A little bit of vibration on this one as well. we might be okay. We still have a bunch of material we need to remove. Now we're just burnishing. That one's actually okay. It's right on the edge. I think we're gonna toss this one. Oh well. We're still, 3 for 5. Alright, I think we're gonna start making a couple Turkish spindle shafts. These are made out of hard maple. So these are ordered oversized so I could chew them up. So the bottom of this one has a couple beads, so I'm going to be using this beading tool just to lay them in. There's a finial on the top. We'll take our skew, define that. Then we're going to take and blend that taper to this taper. We're going to burn some decorative lines. Turn the lathe down and we'll sand it out. burnish. Wax. So you can see it's running nice and true, nice and straight. Now these have arms. So here's an example of what one looks like with the shaft on it. Actually, let's do some top whirls. Alright, these are top whirls. They're also spindles. Just a different type. So I have some tubing, then I have a spacer, then I can chuck it up into the lathe. Now I'm going to put a hole in the center. I'm going to take my skew, make a little divot. Then I have this high-tech drilling system, which looks a lot like a pliers and a bunch of rubber bands. It's only stupid if it doesn't work. Alright, we're going to turn the speed down. We're going to sand real quick. So this is already shaped. So this is Baltic birch plywood that I cut out on the CNC machine. So these divots in here make it where there's more mass on the outside. So if you got a flywheel, having mass on the outside will help it spin longer. And then the top is engraved, a little Siamese kitty with a ball of yarn. Then we're going to chuck it up the other way. We're going to form the shaft on it. So I custom made this live center where it will fit over the shaft. Now I have a line here, that's the bottom. So I'm going to mark where the bottom is with my skew. Now we're putting a slight taper. Makes it a little bit easier to use. form the bottom. And I'm going to get a test spin. It's nice. We're going to put a hook at the top. Just going to use little cup hooks. And then to save my fingers, I just cut a little slot in this dowel, and then I can twist it. Good. One down. Right, this one has a waffle pattern on it. Now to mark the center on this one, I just have this little tool I made in 2012, and I still have it. I made this really quick to see if it would work, and since it did work, I never bothered replacing it. So just a screw that's centered into a hole. Gives me a little divot. Sanded the top surface, much cleaner now. Mark the bottom. Now I come up here and I do a cut on the bottom of the whirl, just towards the center. And what that does is it cleans up any residual glue from gluing the things together. Quick, easy. So when I'm spinning it, I'm verifying that the cup hook is centered. If not, I would have to go get a little pliers and bend it until it is. That only happens once in a while. We have this checkerboard. Yeah, so this is like soot off the laser engraver. You could clean it up with like mineral spirits or alcohol, IPA. But why have an Indian Pale Ale? I don't know. But since I have to sand them anyways, I don't bother. Alright, we're going to chuck that back up. We got a little chip there. So we're going to see if we can sand that out real quick. More of a dent. And that took care of it. Alright, we're going to cut off the bottom. So I round this one over. It doesn't really come to a point. It's blunted. This type of spindle, you're not going to use this point for anything. Some other spindles, you might use that for using it as supported. We'll go check on the printer and then go from there. Give me a minute. I will help.
Okay.
Alright, so those will go over there. Those go there. So this print did finish. So it's got threads on the top, so these thread together. There we go. One down. The other one's almost done. And let's see. We are making sheep. Alright guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I have to go work on some stuff, so I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. I will probably be back after lunch today. We got a bunch of packaging to do for the store, so. Alright guys, have a good one, and we'll catch you next time.